Hi there, I'm Andrea Koppel, and it's time for coffee, the podcast where you get to hear firsthand what the jobs and careers that interest you the most are really like. Hey there, Java junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career DoubleShot K-Cup with my guest, David Halbert. I want to ask you about your time in college in just a moment, but first I'm curious, was going into public service something that you had always wanted to do, or was there something that happened? Was there an experience that you had that inspired you to do it?
You know, it was a little bit of both. And so I came into college and I was an English major in undergrad. And my plan was to go and work in public relations for the American Red Cross. And the reason behind that was I was a blood donor, actually, still am, starting in high school. My father was a long time blood donor. And so the work of the Red Cross just kind of is particularly in that space, kind of fascinated me and wanting to be a part of that and serve. But I didn't see that as kind of a public service job, if you will, just more of a job with a public entity. And while I was in college, I got involved in student government, and I had the distinct privilege of serving as the student representative for all public higher education students on our state's Board of Higher Education, and got to see policy making, warts and all, kind of up close and personal. And it really was a kind of a light bulb moment for me there, that this was something that really spoke to me at a deep level, and it was something I wanted to be involved in. And so I pursued my career following that to be in that space. And I've been very fortunate in the opportunities that I've had.
Wonderful. Well, let me just drill down a little bit more here. This is just a quick question. You said that during your time in college, you were thinking you would go to work in PR for the American Red Cross. Did you know what you were going to do with your English and communication degree when you graduated?
You know, I didn't. When I graduated, I was, once again, as things had shifted, I was looking for a job on Beacon Hill, which is where our state house is. And I didn't know exactly what I was going to be doing. And it was really interesting. The job, my first full-time job out of school, I worked at our state treasurer's office, and I didn't have a background in finance or anything like that. It was just an entry-level job. And I worked at the state house office. I sat at the front desk. I answered the phones and sorted mail and opened the door for people and welcomed them to our office. But it was a job that allowed me to meet and interact with a lot of really interesting people. And it did actually allow me to use a lot of the skills that I had learned as an undergrad, particularly around communications, because there were moments where I was able to take on projects and write letters to constituents and things like that. Nothing incredibly profound at the moment, but it's in those small moments where you actually start to separate yourself out from a professional level. And for those of your listeners who might be on the earlier parts of their careers, one thing I always tell folks is do your best work, because you never know who's watching, right? And that's really important. That's really been valuable in my career. And if I could fast forward a little bit, I'll tell you a great example of that. So I worked for, as you said, 2 different city councilors in Boston. One of them ran for mayor of Boston and was unsuccessful. And because of the way our election cycles laws work here in Boston, if you run for a higher office and you're already on municipal office, you leave basically the office that you're in. So when he lost, not only did he not become mayor, but he and all of us as staffers lost our jobs. And I was having a conversation with some other folks in and around the city council after things were going on, checking in, and was reached out to by the next counselor that I worked for. And what he said was, I watched you as you did your work for Counselor Yoon, and I liked the way you carried yourself. You seem like a good guy. You seem like you're working hard out there. You're the kind of person that I think would really be an addition to my staff. And so I ended up joining his staff and being very happy that I did so. But I didn't think of the fact that the work that I was doing on one office was in many ways kind of an audition for that next office because the counselor was taking note. And so I use that as my example when I talk to folks to say, it's really important that you're thinking about how you perform, how you present yourself, how you engage. And as you said, making sure that you're not burning those bridges because you never know when you're going to have to cross one.
Oh, what a great example, David. And if I may, just to underscore something you said, David did all of this while he was doing the unglamorous work. And he's 100% right. Your future supervisors, your current supervisors are watching the way you handle grunt work. They are paying attention to the attention to detail that you have, to the care and the effort that you are putting into doing things like answering the phone, doing the coffee runs, whatever those menial jobs are. And you may be doing those tasks for a year and a half. And if you are crushing it, doing that, you're going to get noticed. If you're constantly looking for the sexier project and, trying to get somebody else to do the grunt work, they will notice that too. Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to Time for Coffee, where the professionals in the jobs that most interest you always have time to grab coffee, 24/7, no matter where you live. I have one quick favor to ask you. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Time for Coffee. Thanks so much.